October 16th, as over 150 countries around the world mark World Food Day, leading crusaders against hunger said that the global financial crisis has overshadowed a food crisis that threatens millions around the world. Former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan told a conference in Dublin that as many as 10,000 children in the Third World die from malnutrition every day. Reuters quoted Annan as saying,
"The financial crisis deserves urgent attention and focus, but so does the question of hunger. Millions are liable to die. Is that any less urgent?"
Annan questioned the sincerity of pledges governments had made at a Group of 8 summit in 2005 and at a 181-nation food summit last June, which ended with nations pledging $12 billion in aid. He said,
"How much of that $12 billion has been paid out? How much of that $12 billion was new money? How much of it had been pledged before and pledged again?"
In Rome, the head of the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, Jacques Diouf, called for greater political will to tackle the global food crisis. Across the developing world, prices of wheat, rice, maize, and other staples have increased dramatically this year, due in part to record-high oil prices. Diouf said, quote, "I wish to reaffirm that we know what needs to be done to eradicate the hunger of 923 million people in the world. We also know what needs to be done to double world food production and feed a population that is expected to rise to 9 billion people by 2050. Diouf further said that only 10% of the $22 billion that was pledged this year to promote global food security has been delivered, adding, quote, "What we need is political will and delivery on financial commitments." At a FAO Food Summit in June, Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad called on world leaders to emulate Iran's policies in order to eliminate hunger, despite the fact that high food prices and shortages in Iran have reached a crisis level. A report released in September by the International Monetary Fund said that while food prices have eased from mid-July peaks, they are still 44% higher than the end of 2006 prices. Record-high grain prices led to strikes earlier this year in Egypt, Argentina, Morocco, and the Ivory Coast. The International Herald Tribune reported dozens of people in Egypt injured in clashes with police when factory workers in the northern part of the country staged a protest against the rising food prices. On World Food Day, Egypt's First Lady, Suzanne Mubarak, urged the international community to take actions similar to those implemented by major powers to resolve the global financial crisis. She said, quote, "I believe that the scale of the food crisis is of such magnitude that it warrants nothing less than the same swift and decisive measures to curb its lethal projection."